Thank you for joining us for another snippet on these Bihar elections. In these snippets is where we focus on key factors that impact voting behavior. Are the trends currently in favor of the NDA government being voted back or being voted out? The first question we are often asked, is there strong anti-incumbency in Bihar? Or is Bihar's anti-incumbency period over? So we analyze the percentage chance of Bihar governments being re-elected or voted out over the last 75 years, and we found that there are three distinct phases of incumbency. In the first 25 years after independence, voters were full of hope, bordering on euphoria, and in every election the people of Bihar voted the government back in power, an amazing 100% pro-incumbency. But in the next 25 years, 1977 to 2002, that was a period of voter anger, leading to anti-incumbency, with only 33% of governments being voted back in power. Or actually, 2 out of every 3 governments were kicked out by voters. The most recent phase since 2002, that's almost 2 decades, shows that far from anti-incumbency, Bihar now has moderate pro-incumbency, with governments being re-elected 60% of the time. That's just moderate. This 3-phase pattern over the last 75 years has been different from state-to-state assembly elections across India. Today, there's huge pro-incumbency in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Orissa, Assam and West Bengal. While on the other hand, there's strong anti-incumbency still in the southern states of Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Andhra, as well as in the northern states of Punjab, UP and Rajasthan. In a nutshell, since independence, there have been 260 assembly elections in India across large and medium-sized states, not the small states. They're extra. And while there are interstate differences, the overall average of all states together has a remarkably same pattern. India's anti-incumbency period is now over. Right after independence was a good time for state governments with an all-India 82% pro-incumbency. Then came those 25 years of a terrible time for state governments, with only 29% being voted back. And now let's call it the 50-50 era that we are now in. State governments across India have a 50-50 chance of being re-elected or voted out. So Bihar, with 60% pro-incumbency, is in fact slightly more pro-government and above the all-India 50-50 average. The big question that emerges is, why do the people of Bihar vote back governments more often than kicking them out, despite the state's poor record of development? Bihar today is the poorest state in India by far. The average monthly incomes in states like Telangana, Karnataka, Haryana, Tamil Nadu are 26,000 to 27,000 rupees every month. Compared to that, a person in Bihar who on average only earns 5,700 rupees a month, that's roughly 1/4 of what citizens earn in the more prosperous states. Yet many voters we met in villages and small towns across Bihar said, yes, our state is in very bad shape. Poverty is terrible, there are no jobs and no sign of the situation getting better. But we'll vote again for the government. However, the marginal pro-incumbency in Bihar does not quite make Nitish Kumar and the NDA government safe by any means. Bihar can switch parties in power quite easily because it's one of India's most volatile states electorally, meaning that small swings in votes can cause huge swings in seats, and seats matter. The swing needed for Nitish and NDA to lose power is a relatively tiny -3% change in votes. Now, is this volatility unusual? Which states in India are the most volatile? Bihar is actually the 7th most volatile state. For just a 3% swing in votes, that leads to the ruling NDA losing as much as 14% of seats, which is almost 34 seats. -3% vote loss, but 14% seats loss. That's huge. This in itself indicates that this is a high-risk election, though there are some states that are even more volatile than Bihar, like Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu and Orissa. But most states are less volatile and therefore less risky than Bihar. The next question is that if there's only a little pro-incumbency for governments in Bihar, what about for individual candidates, not governments? Do sitting MLAs do worse or do they do better than new candidates? For the BJP and JDU alliance, new candidates tend to do a little better than sitting candidates, suggesting slight anti-incumbency at the candidate level. New candidates have a 65% chance of winning, while sitting MLAs have slightly less, a 57% chance of winning. On the other hand, for the Jeshwi's RJD and the Congress alliance, there is clear pro-incumbency for candidates. New candidates had only an 11% chance of winning, while sitting MLAs had a 43%, that's 4 times higher chance of winning an election. Does this indicate that elected MLAs of the RJD and the Congress do a good job, but a poor overall support does not give much benefit to new candidates? 11% for new candidates? Difficult to say, but the data showing such low win rate for new candidates appears to be absolutely critical to the defeat of the Mahagathbandhan. Another completely different but defining trend in this election has been the 10,000 rupees pre-election handout to women voters. Others call it blatant vote buying using government funds. Blatant, but effective. But as we travelled across many constituencies of the state, we found that Nitish Kumar had a very favourable image with women voters, not just because of the latest 10,000 rupees gift. Many women voters we met said Nitish has always been pro-women. Way back in 2007, cycles were given away to every single schoolgirl in Bihar. In 2016, prohibition was imposed on the entire state, a measure targeted at improving family budgets and family life for women. So the latest 10,000 rupees is just seen to be part of a chain of pro-women policies by Nitish Kumar. And Nitish's pro-women image is reflected in actual election results. Women voters seem to be key to his winning or losing. Where women voters turn out in larger numbers, the NDA wins. Where women voters turn out is less than men, the Mahagathbandhan tends to win. For example, the top 2 regions in the north of Bihar, Kosi and Darbhanga, the turnout of women in both these regions is huge, almost 12% higher than men, which is one of the key reasons why in both these regions the NDA sweeps, winning over 70% of the seats. On the other hand, conversely, in Patna and Magadh, where women's turnout is lower than men, the NDA wins only 30% of the seats. Another subject of conversation that came up repeatedly with voters and candidates is the unusually short duration of this election campaign. In the last 15 years, this is the first time that the Election Commission has announced only 2 phases. In 2020, there were 3 phases. In 2015, there were 5 phases. And in 2010, as many as 6 phases. But who benefits from this reduction in the number of phases? Evidence from recent elections suggests that multi-phase elections tend to hurt the NDA. In the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, Bihar voted across 7 phases. Each phase saw increasing swings against the NDA. The longer the campaign, the worse the NDA's performance. A signal that the NDA does badly in long multi-phase elections. And this evidence is actually reinforced in other states as well. The 2024 elections in UP was also very long, with 7 phases. Once again, the BJP campaign was not a success. In each phase, the swing against the BJP got worse and worse. Taking just one more example, Maharashtra in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, it had 5 long phases. Again, with each phase, the swing against the BJP got worse. The swing in the 5 phases and last phase was nearly minus 11%. That was twice as bad as the first phase. So we'll be traveling around the villages and small towns of Bihar to check if the mood has changed in any way and if any fresh issues have emerged.